Captain Jack Sparrow's days of adventure were far from over, even after all the treasure hunts and cursed artifacts. A new mystery beckoned when a ghostly pirate crew appeared on the horizon, led by a legendary captain thought lost to the sea. With whispers of cursed gold and vengeful spirits, Jack couldn't resist the call. He set sail, promising his crew riches beyond imagination, but the deeper they ventured, the stranger things became. The phantom pirate crew wasn't just a myth. It was a deadly force tied to an ancient curse. Jack knew, once they crossed into this ghostly world, there would be no turning back. But what was the price of the treasure they sought? And what had this crew come for? The Black Pearl sliced through the calm, sunlit sea, its sails billowing in the gentle breeze. Captain Jack Sparrow stood at the helm, his gaze fixed on the horizon, his mind swirling with thoughts of treasure, trouble, and everything in between. It had been quiet lately, too quiet for Jack's liking. And in the world of piracy, silence was rarely a good sign. Without warning, a thick fog began to roll in from nowhere, blanketing the ship in an eerie white haze. The crew, already on edge, exchanged uneasy glances. The air grew colder, and the once clear skies darkened, as if the very weather itself had turned against them. Jack's eyes narrowed as the fog thickened, swirling like a living thing, choking the life out of the sea. "Well, this is bloody odd," Jack muttered to himself, the hairs on the back of his neck standing up. He'd sailed through storms, ghostly tales, and cursed waters before, but this felt different. The air was too still, the silence too unnerving. Suddenly, the first faint shape emerged from the mist, an old ship, its sails torn and tattered, its wooden hull stained with the passage of time. The ship seemed to shimmer, like a mirage, fading in and out of existence. It was no ordinary pirate vessel. It was something much older, much darker. The crew gasped in unison. "Captain, look!" Gibbs stammered, pointing toward the ghost ship. Jack's lips curled into a grin. "Well, well, well. Seems we have company. Ghostly company." The phantom ship drew closer, its crew, if you could call them that, appearing as mere shadows against the fog. Jack could feel the weight of their gaze, but his excitement only grew. Ghosts, curses, and lost treasures were exactly what Jack Sparrow lived for. "Prepare to board, lads," Jack declared with a mischievous glint in his eye. "Let's see what sort of trouble these spirits are stirring up." The Black Pearl slowly drifted closer to the apparition, Jack's heart racing with the thrill of the unknown. The game had changed, and Jack was eager to play. As the Black Pearl drifted alongside the ghostly vessel, the eerie silence pressed in on the crew like a thick fog. The phantom ship, its sails shredded and its timbers rotting, loomed menacingly in the mist. The air was heavy with an unnatural chill, sending shivers down the spine of even the hardiest sailors. Yet, despite the sense of dread that clung to them, Captain Jack Sparrow's eyes gleamed with the thrill of the unknown. "Isn't she a beauty?" Jack mused, his voice low but filled with excitement. "Not the sort of ship you find at any port. I do love a good mystery." The crew murmured uneasily, unsure of what to make of the situation. Ghostly figures moved about on deck. Pirates, but not quite. They were translucent, their forms flickering like flames in the wind. And then, standing at the ship's wheel, a figure appeared. Tall, gaunt, and draped in tattered finery, the man had the look of a captain, but not one who had sailed in the living world for many years. "I am Captain Darius Blackheart," the figure's voice rang out, echoing over the water like the wind itself. "And you, Sparrow, have trespassed into my domain." Jack squinted, studying the ghostly pirate. "Ah, another bloody captain with a grudge. What is it with pirates and their need to be dramatic?" The ghost captain's eyes burned with an ancient fury. "You've come for the treasure, haven't you? The cursed gold that lies at the heart of this forsaken sea. But beware, Jack Sparrow. Nothing in these waters is what it seems. The gold will claim your soul, just as it has claimed mine." Jack's grin faded slightly. Cursed treasure. A tale as old as the sea itself. He wasn't unfamiliar with such things. Curses, I've outsmarted worse. But you say your soul's already claimed. By what, exactly? Captain Blackheart's face twisted into a sinister smile. By the curse that binds me and my crew to this wretched ship. And now, Sparrow, it will claim you too, unless you leave, and never return. Jack considered the warning for a moment before his smirk returned. "Oh, I'm not one to turn down a good challenge. Besides, I'm sure we can work something out. A bit of treasure, a bit of adventure. What's the worst that could happen?" But even as Jack spoke, the fog thickened, and the ghostly crew began to stir, their eyes locking onto him with a hunger that was unmistakable. The game was set, and Jack Sparrow was about to find out exactly what price the cursed gold would demand. Captain Jack Sparrow stood on the deck of the Black Pearl, the mist swirling around him like a living thing. The ghost ship, now revealed as the Cursed Wraith, was anchored nearby, its spectral crew watching with hollow eyes. Jack's eyes glinted with determination as he turned back toward the crew. They had entered dangerous waters, and the heart of the sea, an ancient mythical artifact rumored to control the very tides, was the prize they sought. "All right, lads, listen up," Jack called to his crew, his voice steady despite the creeping unease. "We're not here for a casual stroll through the mist. We've got a treasure to find. And not just any treasure, the kind that makes legends and breaks curses." The crew nodded, though their faces betrayed their apprehension. The map Captain Blackheart had given them was old and cryptic, but it pointed to a hidden island, an island that was said to be more dangerous than the Devil's Triangle itself. It was a place where the sea seemed to warp, where time twisted, and where no ship had ever returned. As they sailed closer to the island, the Black Pearl seemed to fight against the very wind, as though the sea itself didn't want them to reach their destination. The fog thickened, obscuring everything beyond the ship. Strange sounds echoed from the depths, whispers, chants, and the eerie cries of creatures not seen for centuries. When they finally reached the island, it appeared as a jagged silhouette, rising from the water like the bones of a forgotten giant. The cliffs were sharp and craggy, and the trees twisted unnaturally, their roots snaking through the earth like grasping hands. Jack led the crew ashore, feeling the weight of the island's dark magic pressing down on them. The air was thick with the scent of decay, and the very ground seemed alive, shifting beneath their feet. The map led them to an entrance, an ancient stone archway, hidden beneath vines and moss. Beyond it lay the cave that held the heart of the sea. But as Jack stepped through the archway, a sudden chill ran down his spine. The further they ventured, the stronger the sense of something watching them grew. Shadows shifted in the corners of his vision, and the faintest sound of footsteps echoed in the distance. "There's something here, something waiting for us," Jack murmured, his grin never wavering. "And I intend to find it first." But the deeper they ventured, the more Jack realized that the island wasn't just hiding the heart of the sea, it was testing them, every step, every breath. And whatever lay ahead would be the greatest challenge of their lives. The deeper Captain Jack Sparrow and his crew ventured into the island, the more oppressive the air became. The very ground seemed to pulse with dark energy, and the cave they entered felt like a living creature, shifting and breathing with every step. Jack's instincts told him they were nearing the heart of the sea, an artifact so powerful it was said to control the tides and grant dominion over the oceans themselves. But there was something else here, something older, something sinister that had been waiting for them. The deeper they ventured, the more unsettling the whispers grew. Soft, unintelligible voices echoed from the shadows, and ghostly figures flickered in the corners of Jack's vision. The phantom pirate crew, Captain Blackheart's cursed comrades, seemed to be closing in around them. Yet, Jack's resolve remained unshaken. He wasn't afraid of ghosts. He had dealt with worse. "Stay sharp, lads," Jack muttered, his eyes flicking from shadow to shadow. "The treasure's close, but so is the danger." Gibbs, who had been with Jack for many years, hesitated. "Captain, I don't like this. The crew, they're acting strange. I've seen some of 'em whispering behind your back." Jack raised an eyebrow but said nothing. His gut told him something was off, but he'd learned long ago not to trust his crew's fears. What concerned him more was the sudden unnatural chill in the air, growing colder with every step. Suddenly, one of the crew members, a young pirate named Tom, stopped dead in his tracks. His eyes had glazed over, and his hand rested on the hilt of his sword, not in defense, but in readiness. "You've come for the heart, haven't you, Jack?" Tom's voice was low, distant, almost as if someone else were speaking through him. "But it's not for you." Before Jack could react, Tom drew his sword and turned on him. "The heart belongs to the cursed, not the living." The crew gasped as Tom, his face twisted with greed, advanced on Jack. "The captain offered us immortality, eternal life in the service of the sea." The others hesitated. Some of the crew had already begun to drift away from Jack's side, entranced by the dark promises of Blackheart's curse. Jack's eyes narrowed as he saw several more of his men step back, their expressions vacant and cold. "Traitors!" Jack spat, drawing his cutlass with a swift movement. "You've crossed the wrong pirate, mate." A vicious fight erupted in the cave as Jack and the loyal crew fought off the traitors. Ghostly laughter echoed in the distance, and the cave walls seemed to close in, as if the island itself was trying to swallow them whole. But even in the chaos, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The heart of the sea wasn't the only thing they would have to fight for, and the island's curse was far from finished with them. With the battle raging around him, Jack's thoughts turned to one thing: survival. He had to outwit them all, for the heart, and for his very soul. The cave was a battlefield. Ghostly pirates clashed with the crew of the Black Pearl, the sound of steel ringing through the cavern as spectral blades met those of the living. Jack Sparrow was at the center of it all, his cutlass flashing in the dim light as he fought off traitors and spectral warriors alike. The betrayal of his crew stung more than he cared to admit, but there was no time to dwell on it. Survival was the only thing that mattered now. With a swift move, Jack dispatched another ghostly pirate, his blade cleaving through the mist-like figure. His heart raced, but his mind remained sharp. He had a plan, and it was the only chance they had. "Gibbs, get to the heart!" Jack shouted over the chaos, his voice cutting through the madness. "I'll hold them off." Gibbs, struggling to regain control of the crew, nodded grimly and began pushing forward toward the center of the cave, where the heart of the sea was said to rest. The closer they got to the glowing stone pedestal, the stronger the island's magic became. The air crackled with a strange energy, and the floor seemed to pulse with each heartbeat. But Jack knew this wasn't just about the heart anymore. It was about breaking the curse that had trapped Captain Blackheart and his crew for centuries. Blackheart had promised immortality, but it was a lie. He and his men had been condemned to this endless cycle, bound by the heart's power. Jack's mind raced. He needed to destroy the heart before Blackheart could claim it. If the captain succeeded, he would control the sea, and the curse would be passed on to all who sailed its waters. In the final moments of the battle, Jack saw Blackheart emerging from the shadows, his ghostly form towering over him. With a malevolent smile, Blackheart raised his hand toward the heart, its power glowing brighter. Jack sprinted forward, his heart pounding. This ends now. In one desperate move, Jack hurled his sword toward the heart of the sea, the blade plunging deep into its glowing core. The cave trembled as a blinding light erupted, flooding the chamber with searing white light. Jack shielded his eyes as the curse shattered, the spirits of the phantom pirate crew screaming in agony as their forms disintegrated. The island began to crumble, the very ground beneath their feet shaking with the force of the magic being undone. Jack grabbed Gibbs by the arm, pulling him toward the exit. The Black Pearl was waiting, and the island was sinking into the ocean, consumed by the very curse it had once controlled. With a heart destroyed and the curse broken, Jack Sparrow stood at the edge of the collapsing island, a grin slowly forming on his face. The treasure was gone, the danger was past, and the phantom pirate crew was no more. As the Black Pearl sailed away, Jack glanced at his crew, battered but alive. "Well, lads," he said with a twinkle in his eye, "that was a close one. But the sea's always got more adventures for us, doesn't it?" With the wind in their sails and the horizon ahead, Jack Sparrow's next adventure already beckoned.